Every giant club in football has made at least one transfer they wish they could erase. A player signed with huge hype, a fee that broke records, and a result that broke hearts. So in this video, we're going through 16 of the biggest clubs in the world, and for each one, we'll look at the one signing that still makes their fans wince. Let's start with the most expensive winger of his generation. Real Madrid paid around 100 million euros for Eden Hazard in 2019, fresh off winning the Europa League with Chelsea and being considered one of the best wingers on the planet. But injuries hit almost immediately. His fitness never recovered, and across 4 seasons he managed barely more than a handful of goals. Madrid paid a club record fee for a player who spent more time in the treatment room than on the pitch, and he retired from football still owed years on his contract. Now compare that to a winger bought for almost as much on the other side of the Atlantic's football map. Manchester United paid roughly £82 million for Antony from Ajax in 2022, making him one of the most expensive wingers in the club's history. The end product never matched the price tag. Chances created dried up, and he became a symbol of United's chaotic transfer policy under multiple managers. But before both of those, there was a striker deal that broke a world record for his position. Juventus paid Napoli around 90 million euros for Gonzalo Higuain in 2016. He actually scored goals, plenty of them, but Juventus never recouped the investment, selling him years later for a massive financial loss, split across 2 loan-heavy exits away from Turin. Speaking of Napoli's money, let's jump to Barcelona, who made the opposite mistake, paying huge money instead of receiving it. Barcelona handed Liverpool up to 120 million euros for Philippe Coutinho in January 2018. He never adapted to Barca's system, got loaned to Bayern Munich, where he scored 8 goals in a single Champions League game against his own parent club, and was eventually sold to Aston Villa for a fraction of the price. Staying in England but flipping the story completely, here's a striker who came home and immediately regretted it. Chelsea brought Romelu Lukaku back for around £97.5 million in 2021, hoping he'd be the number 9 to finally win them the league. Within months, he criticised the project in an interview, was frozen out and loaned back to Inter Milan the very next season, sold at a massive loss. Now to Germany, where even a World Cup winning defender couldn't stay fit long enough to matter. Bayern Munich paid Atletico Madrid around 80 million euros for Lucas Hernandez in 2019, a club record fee for a defender at the time. Persistent knee injuries limited him to a fraction of the games Bayern needed, and years later, he left for PSG, having spent as much time recovering as playing. Back to England for a winger whose price tag became a punchline. Arsenal spent a club record £72 million on Nicolas Pepe in 2019 after his prolific season at Lille. He never replicated that form in the Premier League, struggled with consistency and confidence, and left on a free transfer years later. And if you thought that fee was big, it's nothing compared to the most expensive transfer in football history. Paris Saint-Germain paid Barcelona's release clause of 222 million euros for Neymar in 2017. It shattered every record that existed, and while he delivered moments of brilliance, constant injuries, off-field controversies, and a Champions League still missing from PSG's cabinet made it one of the most debated transfers ever made. He eventually left for Saudi Arabia's Al Hilal on a free, from the most famous flop on this list to one of the quietest. Inter Milan signed Joao Mario from Sporting for roughly 45 million euros in 2016. He never settled in Serie A, got loaned out repeatedly, and quietly left the club years later as one of Inter's most forgettable big-money arrivals. Manchester's other club has its own midfield regret to match. Manchester City paid around £42 million for Kalvin Phillips in 2022, hoping he'd be Rodri's long-term partner. Instead, he barely featured. lost his place in the England squad, and was loaned out and sold at a loss while City's midfield thrived without him. Let's go back to Germany for a winger who never rediscovered his World Cup form. Borussia Dortmund signed André Schurrle from Wolfsburg for about €30 million in 2016. He struggled for goals and consistency and was sold to Fulham at a heavy loss within 2 years. Back to Spain, where a club broke its own transfer record for a forward who never became the main man. Atletico Madrid paid Benfica €126 million for Joao Felix in 2019. He showed flashes of brilliance but never became the focal point Diego Simeone's system needed. And after years of loans and inconsistency, Atletico let him leave for a heavy loss. Now, a defensive reunion that lasted barely a year. AC Milan brought back Leonardo Bonucci from rivals Juventus for around €42 million in 2017, hoping for leadership and stability. One turbulent, tension-filled season later, he was sold straight back to Juventus. Tottenham's version of this story involves a midfielder who clashed with almost everyone. Tottenham Hotspur broke their transfer record for Tanguy Ndombele, paying up to £63 million to Lyon in 2019. He struggled with fitness and application, was loaned out twice, and was eventually sold for a fraction of what Spurs paid. Napoli, meanwhile, once broke a national transfer record of their own. Napoli paid PSV close to €42 million for Hirving Lozano in 2019, a Mexican transfer record at the time. He struggled to nail down a starting spot under multiple coaches and never became the guaranteed starter his price suggested. And to close things out, we go back to Liverpool for a midfielder who simply couldn't stay on the pitch. Liverpool signed Naby from RB Leipzig for close to €60 million in 2018, calling him one of the most exciting midfielders in Europe. Constant injuries meant he rarely strung matches together, and 5 years later, he left the club on a free transfer, having never come close to justifying the fee. None of these were bad players. Most were internationals, some were World Cup winners, and a few are still playing at a high level today. But when a club pays record money and expects a title-winning transformation, anything less becomes a story that follows a player for the rest of his career. So, which one do you think was the single worst transfer on this list? Let me know in the comments.